Master. Indeed, I was privileged enough to contribute to the mayoral lecture last year. I think also spoke at the Biennale in wherever it was, in Stoke, thereabouts, Stourbridge, maybe there. And I think some of you will be familiar with the work that I have done over the years. I'm a chemist by training. I'm a politician, I guess, these days, as my last 15 years has been working in representing the glass industry. But my formative years in industry were around glass research and development, and it somehow gets in the blood. Listening to James about an atrophied or glacial brain, I can sort of appreciate that. I've been around the industry now for, this will be my 45th year, so it's a long time. And I've always had a passion for the things I learned in my formative years about what glass can do for us. So what I want to do this evening is just give you a little bit of an insight into some of the things that I think glass can contribute to in solving the problems of future society. But I guess I need to set the scene a little bit around what glass is, where it might come from, how we might form glass, and how indeed you can form glass from pretty much anything. The palette of glasses that we have available to us in contrast to other materials, and just why it might be the saviour of mankind. Not too big a ask, but that's the direction of travel. So yes, I am a chemist, but I'm a frustrated mathematician, and I really enjoy the numbers game. So tonight I want to just talk around some of the sort of origins of glass and what glass is, before we get into where it's going to take us. So one of the big controversies I'll start with is glass is not material. It's material state. It's a way of material cooling from a liquid or a gaseous state into a solid form, but without forming a crystalline structure. So given that as a definition, if you can cool something quickly enough, you can make it into a glass. When I was a lowly research student many moons ago, I was making glass from liquid nickel steel. If you can fire it at a target and cool it quickly enough, it doesn't have the opportunity to structure itself into a crystalline matrix as most materials aim to do. Instead, it formulates a solid very rapidly. And when I say rapidly, this is over 5 million degrees a second. It's pretty quick. But what that does is enables the atoms in the material to formulate almost a liquid type context in a solid. And that presents a massive opportunity, because glass being that non-crystalline state means that it doesn't have to rely on basic chemistry. As a trained chemist, I've always known that you basically have rules and strictures that you have to follow when you're forming compounds. There's about 350 million compounds that we know of currently. There's about 1 billion compounds that we could formulate. But there's about, well, I think I mentioned in the mayoral lecture, just doing a little bit of mathematical crystal ball gazing. The opportunities and the different mixtures in glass offers a palette that is bigger than the number of atoms in the entire universe. And this is because in conventional chemistry you are stuck with the idea that a certain number of atoms react with a certain number of other atoms to form molecules. You don't have the opportunity to mix 3.157 atoms of one thing with 9.27 with another. But in a molten state, you have the whole of the periodic table, and you have any option to mix those ratios. So you imagine how colossal the number of things you can do with glass. And this is the core of what I want to talk about. The fact that within this idea, you can imagine the different ways that you can formulate glassy structures that can address so many problems in society. So I want to start that crystal ball gazing and just look at some of the aspects of life where you perhaps don't realise that we already have a content of glass. There's been a history of glass, and what I want to talk about is the future.